AD, and this idea of it's all one thing. There's only one thing going on. And rather than having a monistic or a separation between the divine and the manifestation, these guys thought, you know what? It's all everything. And this was a beginning precursor to what we've learned about in Qi frequencies with the quantum frequencies and how we can interact with frequencies and even with these devices in order to experience greater spirituality, a more profound expansion of our awareness, and raise our consciousness, not to mention our health. And so I'm going to just try sharing here and just see, share. If I click on share sound, no, I can't do it. What a bummer. It's a really great slide. But what I'm going to do in the meantime, if they can work on it, I'm going to do a presentation. It's a PowerPoint presentation. And I really like doing PowerPoint presentations because they give me a way to share the information. So I'm imagining that you can see this right now. And if you can see this, please say hello in the chat. Doopy doopy doo. And I have to shrink this box down so I can see you guys. Chat. Can you see that I'm sharing? Anybody there? Oh, great. Fantastic. Okay. Then I'm ready to go here. I have to then once again expand my screen. You know what you really need for these things is 3 screens instead of 2. So let me see if I can see this. I'm here. I'm sharing. Share sound. Nope. So the video won't happen tonight. Okay, great. And I'm going to stop share and start sharing again just so I can get my one screen over here to work. The awesomeness of technology. Okay, good. Fabulous. All right. So as I was saying, this is what they're calling, and what a great title, The Hidden History and Future of Spiritual Healing. And as I said, I'm Carol Merlo. I've been teaching New Thought, the history of New Thought, for about the last 10 years or so. Prior to that, I was in training as a leadership and sales trainer. So I've been interacting with the idea of how people can be more empowered for the majority of my life. I have a degree in educational psychology and a master's degree. And so I've been involved in how to help people learn. And so this is the result of that. I love doing PowerPoints. Are you going to go like this? Are you going to go like this? You're not. How about this? If I go like this. There we go. Okay. So the power of healing. So healing's always been with us, right? Healing has always been with us. I'm not talking about doctor healing. Doctor healing is a really recent development in the history of humanity. However, the desire to heal people through herbs, through spiritual practices has been going on since the beginning of humanity. And so this is something we're all familiar with. And oh, awesome. I'm looking at the little chat box. So I'll be distracted periodically. Don't worry about it. You'll still get the message, okay? So we're going to learn how energy and mind come together because these have typically been 2 fields. And what my experience with Qi Coils is that when you have a powerful intention, it helps the Qi Coils work better. And this is why. So I'm going to teach you exactly why that is. Let's see here. So first of all, I want to start talking about magnets. Okay, and you are on this call watching this video because you have been introduced to Qi Coils. And Qi Coils have something to do with electromagnetism, right? So I started to think, We have these big aura coils. They're 2 feet by 2 feet. And we were doing a convention a couple weeks ago, and we had a string tied to a magnet. And we would have people take the magnet and hold it up to the coil, and they could feel the vibration of the coil. So it shows people that, yes, there's something going on here that's magnetic. And I talk to people and I always say, well, it's PEMF that goes through the air. And I'm going to explain all that in just a few minutes. I'm still trying to see if I can get my screen to do this. Okay, great, I can. Okay, so this is kind of the history of magnets. Now that I read online about this guy named Magnus in Greece or Anatolia, which is now Turkey, and how he was a shepherd. And one day he had this stick that had some metal in it, and it started sticking to something, some other metal, and lo and behold, the discovery of magnetism. Well, that's possible. However, it happened in a lot of different areas. You can see India, China, and Anatolia, which is now Turkey. Now, the problem with magnetism way back then, it was hit and miss. They didn't know why it was happening. They saw these stones called lodestones, which are now called magnetite. Magnetic stones, pretty cool. And in China, they figured out, well, if you drench this hot iron into the magnetic field of the earth, then the iron would be magnetized. But straight magnets demagnetize. So they figured out the horseshoe magnet, but it wasn't until 1743, which is quite a long time ago. However, relatively recent when you think about human history. So then this guy, Franz Anton Mesmer, you may have heard of him. Mesmer was famous for not magnets, but he was significant in teaching us how possibly magnets could work. So he was the forerunner, okay? So he said there exists a universal fluid that influences the body. He believed that there was a magnetic fluid that went through everybody's body. And so this universal fluid flows through everything. And if there's a block to this fluid, then there's disease. Doesn't that sound familiar? Sounds very familiar. In the next slide, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But he called it animal magnetism. So he thought if you could magnetize the body or use magnets, you could move this fluid around and get rid of any blockages and consequently any disease. So he thought it was these obstacles in the body. In fact, what he did, he had people honestly drink iron infused water and then would take magnets and draw it along their body to get this flow going of the animal magnetism. Now, we see this idea in a lot of different places, but primarily in Chinese medicine. So look at traditional Chinese medicine, for example, illness arises when qi is blocked or unbalanced in the meridians. And then that developed into Reiki, well, not until the 20th century, chakra healing, which developed in India, and acupuncture and acupressure, of course, which are a result of Chinese traditional medicine. Right? So you can see here that this idea of a blockage in the flow is something that wasn't unique to Mesmer, but he's the guy in Western civilization that made this popular. So he'd use these hand movements, right? And what we call this now is lymphatic drainage. The lymph system, if you don't know, is a circulatory system. It accompanies but uses different vessels than the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system, however, has the heart to pump it. The lymphatic system only has the lungs, or bouncing on a trampoline or doing something like that, getting it moving. And so lymphatic drainage is a really cool tool for people to get their lymph moving so that it's the lymph facilitates healing. It's what causes, it's kind of the flow and movement of the immune system. Okay. So he's doing this way back in 17 something or other. Pretty incredible. Now, he also had a tool that see this tub? He developed this tub, and let's see if I can use this. Okay, see these rods here? Okay, he would point these rods at the different parts of a person's body. And inside this tub is water with bottles of magnetized water. So this magnetized water is floating around in the pool with the person, and then he would take these rods and he would point it at the person. And that was really awesome. People were going, wow, look at the benefits. And this was France, by the way, even though Mesmer was Austrian, I believe. So people got really excited about it. And so this king, that's his name, King Louis XVI, he says, okay, we're going to find out if this is true. He was the FDA of the 1700s. Okay, so he goes, I'm going to find out if this is true. Move my slide. He commissions Benjamin Franklin and Antoine Lavoisier, who you've probably heard of from history class, and they decided to find out if this was actually real. Well, what they found out is when somebody is watching me and I'm in this tub, I get benefits. But if nobody's watching me, I can't tell if I'm getting benefits or not. And that was the very first documentation of the placebo effect, which then triggered the development of psychology later on. And so Mesmer then shifted out. He thought, okay, well, I'm not doing this anymore. It's been debunked. And he started doing what we call hypnotism today. And he called it a trance. And using a trance methodology, he would heal people. Now, so he's over there in France, right? And you know how long it takes any information to get over anywhere back in those days. You had to take a ship. So this guy from France, I think his name was Poyen, he saw Mesmer. And so he came to the New World, to the colonies, and he goes, hey, I want to teach this. And he runs into this guy, Phineas Quimby. Phineas Quimby was a clockmaker, but he was really, really sickly. And so he showed Quimby this magnetism or magnetic form of healing. And so Quimby got pretty excited because he started to feel better. He had had tuberculosis as a kid, and they gave him this stuff called calomel, which was like a mercury and chlorine combination that they thought would cure tuberculosis, which it did not. It ate all his teeth. You can imagine what it did to his bones. So, he really needed a healing, this guy. And so he talks to this guy, this man from France, and he gets excited about it. So he starts developing a healing practice using magnetism and this animal magnetism idea, only he thought it had to do with thought. So he abandoned the idea of magnets pretty early on. Probably word came over the pond about the magnets being debunked. I want you to remember this because later on magnets are going to come up, right? So this idea is disease is a belief impressed upon the body. And he started doing healing treatments with people. And so this is how he did it. So these are the steps. So you use spiritual reasoning. So he and the patient are sitting right across from each other, and he convinces the patient that the sickness is a false belief and it's groundless fears or negative patterns. And you've probably heard all of this before, right? And so he explained to them that if they were going to get healed, they had to change their beliefs. And he had to build up in his own mind that the illness was just a belief. It wasn't, the physical manifestation wasn't the reality. It was the what do you want to call it? The disease, right? But the disease wasn't the actual truth. It was just a manifestation of a belief. So then you render this verdict in the courthouse of your mind, and then the patient starts to get healed. He became very, very successful doing this. So those of you that are out there, I want to ask, have you used affirmations before, or spiritual mind treatment, or affirmative prayer, or even hypnotism to heal a condition in your own life? Many, many people have. And I don't know how many people are actually on this call, and I can't see you if you're on YouTube, but ask yourself this question because it's a very important question to ask. Like, where and when in your life have you used the power of your belief to shift a condition? Okay, great. So now let's go on. And just to really get clear on these two guys, so here's Mesmer over here on the left. Mesmer is energy. He was about magnets and energy. He thought the universal fluid was a physical thing, right? And diseases were determined by the flow of energy. And that healing involved manipulating the energy, manipulating it, or using something called mesmerism. Quimby over here was a mind guy. So he thought the universal fluid was actually something spiritually happening inside of a person. And that was what was causing illness. And so if people could transform their beliefs, they could be healed. But what if both of them were right? Yeah. Okay, so here is kind of a timeline, and this is simplified because there are many people out there. I wonder, okay, I'm not going to pay attention to that. There are many people out there that will say, well, what about this person? What about that person? These are the most significant people in the development of each of these areas. So on the top, we see new thought. Get a new thought, create a new belief, change your healing, change your life, right? So it starts with Phineas Quimby in the 1840s. Then it goes to Mary Baker Eddy, who would founded Christian Science. And then Emma Curtis Hopkins, who formed a really, really popular in the late 1800s New Thought methodology, call it that. And then her students were Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who founded the Unity Movement or Unity Church, and then Ernest Holmes, who founded Science of Mind. And those were the primary people that founded organizations based on New Thought in the 20th century. Now, on the other hand, down here on the bottom, we see Anton Mesmer with his magnets and Nikola Tesla. So he developed an understanding of vibrational frequency. And he even, I saw a picture today on this video that I can't show you, but it's actually, he developed a patent for a coil way back when for healing. Then there's another guy, George Lakhovsky, and he used electromagnetic fields to restore cellular health. So 1925 to 1935. And then in the 50s, Dr. Royal Rife, who you probably have heard of, and he did frequency-based pathogen destruction. And we are still using Dr. Rife's methodologies today. And when you buy a Qi coil, you get all the Rife frequencies, which are pretty powerful. Then we get in 1960 to 1970, Robert Becker, he discovered bioelectric healing potential and regeneration. Bioelectric. Because what's happening now after World War II is we're starting to discover that that the cells actually communicate through electromagnetism. They call it's a electrochemical mechanism, right? That's how nerves respond to one another and how cells actually communicate is through electrochemical communications. And so he really worked on that. And then this lady in the 1980s, Valerie Hunt, She measures and validates human energy fields for the first time. Now, I knew about Kirlian photography before the 80s. I'm a boomer. And so Kirlian photography was around, but this woman actually validated it, which is pretty amazing. And then here in the 2020s, we have David Wong, long time, 40 years later, developing Qi coils and quantum frequencies. So all from this guy, Anton Mesmer, way back in the 1700s. So here's what we know today. First of all, if you don't know it, you're going to know it by the end of this demonstration here. We are pure energy having a physical experience. You can call pure energy spiritual, or you can call it anything you want. The fact of the matter is, it's energy. Even at the basis, the smallest form of matter, the center of the atom is pure energy. Everything is energy in motion, except scalar energy, which I'm going to talk about in a while. All right, so everything has an energy field. And here you can see magnets and iron filings from magnets. It's really a fascinating thing. If you've never done it, I got a science kit when I was a kid, and we got iron filings, and we could play with the magnets through the paper and see all the different patterns, and it's really fun. So there's three main energy fields: electric, magnetic, and gravitational. And the thing to remember when you're looking at this is that electricity creates magnetic fields and vice versa. These are interdependent phenomena. So electricity and magnetism go hand in hand. And when we're talking about the Schumann frequency, then we're talking about the relationship between gravity and motion, which creates this electrical charge. So the human body also has a biofield, just like the Earth has, and you've seen a picture of the Earth with this thin blue line around it. It's the atmosphere. The Earth itself has a field called either an electromagnetic or a gravitational field. There's two of them. And human beings also have this. So you are not just a body. You are energy, and you extend outside of your body. And this is a great little picture. It shows the aura is moving through the field. And it happens, it's interesting. The more sensitive you are, the more easily you can feel it. However, everybody can sense this. You can walk into a room, and if there is somebody that is upset, and you can feel the room. I used to be in theater, and we would always say, "How's the house?" And you could feel the energy of the audience before you went out on stage. Everybody can feel this, and some people can feel it more than others. So the truth of the matter is, everybody does have an energetic field. And so we are responding energetically to other people, other things. And this is an electromagnetic field, but it's also a subtle energy field, which is a spiritual field. This is what it looks like. So it's in the shape of a torus. And you can think of a torus, and the energy goes down and up, down and up, down and up, both sides, kind of like a convection oven. Okay, so you are in the middle of this thing. Notice this central vertical axis. This is the center of you. And this field also spins. Your chakras work exactly the same way. They look exactly like this, only smaller. Okay, they have a central vertical axis, and they also spin. And the energy flows in and through, in and through, in and through. And so the value of this is recognizing that you are a processor of frequency and energy. You're not just static. Your field doesn't just sit there, it's alive. And so it's a very useful thing to imagine yourself being. And I teach people to do this in meditation. Feel 5 feet in front of you. Feel 5 feet in back of you. Feel out your left side. Feels so good. Feel out your right side. Feel 5 feet above the top of your head and 5 feet below. As you focus on each of these areas, what happens is your awareness of your field becomes greater. And then you are more able to influence those things that you're responding to and interacting with as you become more aware of your energetic field. Now, this is a magazine really great if you want to check it out online. It's called New Scientist, and there's a lot of great stuff in there. I love this image, and this talks about this one article about how electricity shapes you and your health. It talks about the relationship between electricity and your cells, for example, and how the cellular electricity impacts the organs and your cardiovascular system and your brain. The whole thing is electrochemical. And this was only 2023, so really recent article. Further, every thought or feeling you have is connected to a brainwave. So you are a brainwave. Now, think about this morning. Think about something that happened this morning, if you can remember that far back. What it was like when you woke up, or you got dressed, or took a shower. Remember back? Okay. That particular memory is a brainwave. Now, say you add emotion to it. You have you had a big fight this morning. Okay, brainwave. Oh, my aching back. You have a pain. Brainwave. The registration, best use of the word, for a pain in the brain is a brainwave. You are not going to know that pain is there without a brainwave. So this is significant in understanding the power of Qi coils and Qi energy. When you're understanding that really you have control over this. You can change your brainwaves. You can change your frequencies. So you are a vibrational being. Frequency healing helps you remember your wholeness, shift patterns, and align with your highest potential. And my invitation to you tonight is to recognize the truth of this. You don't have to be a victim of your condition or your circumstance. You can change it. So while I am a practitioner of the science of mind, I also am a user of Qi frequencies because the two go together. Now, how this works out in the energy field is there's two, and this is a really fundamental, I'm setting a stage right now so that you can understand how all this stuff works. And the first primary thing to understand is called entrainment. If nothing else, remember this word. So your brain is designed, it's hardwired to look into the energy field and find those things that can synchronize with it. So let's say it's a song. You listen to a song, it has a frequency. It has a whole bunch of frequencies. It has a rhythm, it has a pitch, it has a meter, all of that kind of stuff, right? And a tone. Music is pretty complex, and your brain recognizes that, even if you're tone deaf. Now, let's say you're meeting with somebody. It's your best friend. You really like your friend, and you and your friend sit down together, and you start having a conversation, and pretty soon hormones are made. But before the hormones are made, your brains are being entrained with one another. Now, let's say you sit down with a frequency device or listen to sound healing. Any kind of sound works really well, but also other PEMF frequencies, pulsed electromagnetic frequencies, also entrain your brain. And not only that, they entrain your cells. So as you are in an energetic field that synchronizes with you, it also synchronizes with your cells. And that's why you can be healed vibrationally. It's amazingly powerful. Okay, wow. I'm going to keep going here. Just turns me on, you guys. All right, so this is two energetic fields and two people that are interacting with each other. You are still you. You don't stop being you when you interact with a person you like or love or hate or there's anger. That this field, this intersection of the two fields is where you and the other person are entrained. And so see if you can feel it. Take time and interact with somebody and see if you notice the interaction of the energy fields between the two of you. Okay, now here's a study that was just fascinating. This is a PET scan. So they're measuring the brain activity and they're using theta brain waves, which so theta is a one of the brain waves, and there is a sound frequency called theta that harmonizes with those brain waves and synchronizes with it. Okay, so you're by yourself, you're just hanging out, and this is your brain over here. It's unbalanced. You got some red energy over here. You got some blue. You can see how off balance this is. They introduced the brain waves, the theta waves. It's not brain waves, it's sound waves. And pretty soon this starts to happen. There's balance here. And you want energy. You don't want everything to be all blue. You want the orange and the red. It's a really good thing. So don't be freaked out about that, actually. And then see after 25 minutes how the brain then becomes balanced. This is why we encourage people to meditate at least 20 to 25 minutes. If you're listening to sound frequencies, it might be easier for you. If not, you can use thought and breathing. There's a lot of techniques for meditation, but with sound, it happens a lot faster. Okay, so Mesmer, back to Mesmer, he was on the right track. But he found out that magnetic fields are too weak. Magnets don't work. Now, 10, 15 years ago, I got really involved. A lot of people were in a company from Japan that sold magnets, magnetic beds, magnetic shoe soles, lay on magnets, hang out with magnets. Magnets will will reduce inflammation. That was the story. Well, it was just like when Mesmer was being evaluated by Benjamin Franklin. There's no data. But electromagnetic pulses do have enough power. So you can use magnets, but they have to have an electrical charge going through them in order to work. So today's tools, I want to talk about what we're using now for frequency healing. Now that you've got this background, and you can see here sound healing and Qi coils. So let's start with music and sound healing. So there's a whole lot of words, but what it does is the sound stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system and your vagus nerve, which the vagus nerve is like right here, right? And you can actually manipulate it with breath or some types of massage vibrationally, and it will cause a parasympathetic reaction in the body. Listening to music does that, or it doesn't. It could also trigger a sympathetic response. Think about a movie. Oh, I love film score writers. They're so good at creating music that will cause tension, anxiety, fear, love, joy, relaxation. All of these feelings, emotional states that are triggered by music. And so sound healing is a very powerful way to experience what you want to experience, so long as you choose to expose yourself to sounds that will cause the effect that you want. If you're around sounds that are going to cause an effect that you don't want, that cause you to experience more stress, for example, you're going to experience more stress. It's just how it is. Let's see, I'm trying, this one works. So I'm just going to read this. When exposed to sound waves, the body's systems naturally synchronize or entrain with the external frequencies. This can promote relaxation, reduce stress, and improve mental clarity, or induce stress and decrease mental clarity depending on the source. I highly encourage people to expose themselves to sound frequencies, sound healing. And I mean, music is great, listen. Oh, I can just imagine right now how good it feels to be around crystal bowls, for example. And so when you're doing this, that something's shifting inside your body. Now I'm going to talk about the electromagnetic spectrum, because sound is on the electromagnetic spectrum. And it's way over here. Notice here's your brain. The frequencies, brain frequencies, brain wave frequencies, sound frequencies, auditory frequencies. So they're here, right? Now, light and the experience of light happens on a much wider range. But notice here this middle, and the electromagnetic spectrum, there's a place where frequencies become toxic, or EMF. This is all EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. And what happens at some point is the molecules start to get ionized. The atoms get, it ionizes the atoms or molecules. It knocks the electrons out of their orbit. This is bad. So you've heard of EMF. You got to remember, it's this EMF. It's the ionizing EMF. All of this is EMF. Low frequency EMF, high frequency EMF. So think about radiation from an X-ray or a bomb, right? Gamma rays, X-rays. This is damaging stuff. Over here on this end with the brain, this is where Qi coils operate. Down here at the 1 to 1000 hertz area. By the way, it's all measured in hertz. All right, next slide. So the problem with the high frequency EMFs is, and some people are more susceptible to this than others, but I think all cells are susceptible to it, right? So what happens is there's oxidative stress. What's oxidative stress? Think of it like rust on your cells or your systems. Your body starts to oxidize and deteriorate. Think of cutting an apple. When you cut an apple open and you let it sit out, doesn't take very long, the apple becomes brown. Why? Because it oxidizes. The same thing happens inside your body with high frequency EMFs. And so we want to be able to eliminate our reaction to EMF exposure. Notice here it says EMFs also reduce our levels of melatonin. And so people that are exposed to high levels of EMF have difficulty sleeping as well. More stress, all that kind of stuff. Another thing to understand, and I know I'm throwing a lot of terms out at you, but I want you to just get a feel for it. A feel for it so you can understand and have a greater appreciation of what the Qi coils actually do. So this is frequency versus voltage. So we talked about frequency, right? This is how often the waveform moves per second. That's hertz. But voltage is how much power there is. So you got to have power and frequency. Okay? The higher the power. Remember the magnets without voltage don't do much. And I got to say, crystals on this are, to an extent, more powerful than a magnet. And the bigger the crystal, the more powerful, even though it doesn't have voltage running through it. Okay, so voltage in a PEMF device is responsible for creating the electromagnetic pulse. A higher voltage produces a stronger magnetic field, which can penetrate deeper into the body. The voltage essentially determines the intensity or the power of the pulse. And cellular voltage determines the health of the cell. How much power is in a cell? Remember, because all these cells are communicating through electricity. So here's every cell in your body. It vibrates at a particular wave in frequency, in hertz. And when your cells have been injured or you get a toxic overload, they can't generate their energy. That means their voltage goes down. Over here, we've got all of these different areas of the body and the amount of hertz they've measured that determine what is healthy. And I don't have that slide here, but I also know that you can measure the voltage of a cell, and if it's less than 30, I believe, you're basically, that cell is going to turn to cancer. It's going to mutate. And so we have to have enough voltage in our cells in order to maintain our health. Okay, so PEMF is the solution. Honestly, it's pulsed electromagnetic frequencies, and every cell in the body produces these fields we've talked about. The cells communicate with each other, we talked about. And PEMF uses electrical energy to send magnetic pulses through the body, penetrating the cells and tissues without being absorbed. This stimulates the cells and allows them to reboot their chemical and electrical processes and function normally again so the body can repair itself. Now, I had a video I was going to show you that is all the scientific validity, so I'm going to recap it for you. Basically, NASA started researching PEMF a while in the 50s. And they did this, they found this one frequency called Schumann resonance by a guy named Schumann. And they did bunker studies. They thought, okay, what's going to happen if we remove a person from the frequency of the Earth? So they created a bunker that was shielded, okay, with lead. So no frequencies could come through. And they let people go in there and stay, and they got sick. Come back out, they start to get well. Go back in, they start to get sick. That was in the 50s. Then they started putting people in space, right? In the 60s, put people in space outside of the field of the Earth, they get sick. Bring them back, they get well. So what is this thing? And they determined this frequency that is basically the pulse of the Earth. And then NASA developed apparently these pads that they installed in the spaceships. And that way, when the astronauts would go up, they still had the pulse of the Earth, which kept them healthy. Then they started patenting all PEMF for all kinds of things. From the first one was broken bones. That they used PEMF, it would heal bones faster. And then all the way through, there was a number of different patents for PEMF, culminating in brain cancer. Brain cancer. And they've documented, so cool, a device that they put on a guy's brain, on his head. And the problem with PEMF is it takes a long time. So he used this PEMF all the time for 6 months. And if you don't use it, it doesn't work. Use it, it works. Just like the going in and out of that bunker or the spaceship. And after 6 months, the cancer started to respond. And by 12 months, the cancer was gone. And this is patented by the FDA and approved by the FDA, that PEMF works on cancer cells. Really incredible science. So I wish I could show it to you. All right, so now I want to go back to Royal Rife. I mentioned him in the history. Remember that slide with the history of all the people? So here's a guy in 1952 starts working with frequencies. Now, not PEMF. PEMF is pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. Rife frequencies are just EMF. There's a difference there, but remember, they're low frequency, not high frequency EMF. And he found if a particular frequency, first of all, he looked at cells under this what do they call it? Magnoscope, telescope, magnoscope, whatever it's called. He would look in there and see the cells. And he determined the electricity of the cells. Then he saw what the frequency was. He created a device that counteracted the frequency of the cancer cell and nullified it. And he did this. He had something like 15 to 25 people that had stage 4 cancer that he was able to heal. And that was not a good thing for the AMA. And so they told him to stop doing it. And he was stifled. You'll find throughout history, even in the history of New Thought, way back in many, many early things, early people, they ended up getting crucified or burned at the stake, or their science was kicked out. Happens over and over and over again. So this was nothing new. This is kind of like human nature. And yet it ruined his career. And then it came back into came back, say around, I would say the 70s to the 90s in there, and people started using Rife machines again. They originally had big test tubes and all that kind of test tubes. Is that what they call them? Yeah, test tubes to generate the frequencies. Well, PEMF is not that. It's pulsed electromagnetic fields, and it stimulates cellular function. So they're both beneficial, but they're different. So when you get quantum frequencies, that's a different thing than a Rife frequency. A Rife frequency is great for particular pathogens. Quantum frequencies are great for a lot of other things. Okay, so PEMF therapy reduces pain, alleviates stress, improves sleep, repairs bone, as we talked about, lowers blood pressure, increases circulation, and by the way, it augments meditation. And why it affects us. Now, I found this to be fascinating. There's actually magnetite Fe3O4 in our brains. Our brain cells have crystals in them that are magnetic. And that's why PEMF and EMF for the matter are things that that the brain reacts to. So absorption follows the law of the classic physics process of resonance matching of frequency. Brain tissues contain a minimum of 5 million crystals per gram, distributed in 50,000 to 100,000 discrete clusters. These are the little clusters. And the electromagnetic signals within the brain are supported via biochemical systems. Schumann resonance affects melatonin and serotonin. Did you know that? That's why if you play Schumann resonance at night with your Qi coils, the yin coil, you will sleep better. And so serotonin, if you use Schumann resonance during the day, will help with depression. One of the best frequencies you can get. When you buy the small coil, the mini coil, you are not going to get this unless you purchase it. It's worth whatever it is, $39 or whatever, to buy that frequency and have it going through your coils. Really important. Okay, cellular health and PEMF exposure. So Qi coils stimulate cellular repair by enhancing the function of cell membranes, increasing circulation, and boosting adenosine triphosphate, which is cellular energy. And this can help the body maintain homeostasis even when it's exposed to EMF. Now, a lot of people go, well, it cancels out EMF. It does not. EMF is still there. It cancels out your reaction to EMF. Okay? Because we're not getting rid of the frequencies. We are just getting rid of the reaction to the frequencies. We're nullifying them, just like how Rife did with the cancer cells. It's really important to understand. The other thing that's important to understand when we're talking about PEMF, have I gotten here yet? Yes. Okay. So we did this convention a couple weeks ago, and people wanted to touch the coils. So I would say, see, hold up this magnet, and they could feel the power and the pulse. I'd say, okay, this is PEMF that goes through the air. And this is such an unfamiliar concept to people because all the other PEMF devices out there are something you have to touch. You have to lay on it. Or in the case of the brain guy, they put electrodes on their brain. And so this, you don't need to touch it. It's incredible. I had a guy sit there with the 3S coils like this, holding them for like 15 minutes because he didn't understand that he could just put him. So he was doing this. Hopefully you can see me. So here's these coils, right? So he'd sit there and hold them and talk to me. And he could have just put them down. And it still works the same. I told him, 10 to 11 feet in diameter. Everywhere you go in this little booth, you're going to be experiencing the power of these coils. But I want you to understand it and share this with others because this is one of the most powerful things that the Qi coils do is they eliminate the need for touching a pad or laying on a pad. Okay, now we have scalar energy. So here's the two coils again. I've got a microphone here, so I can't really hold this up that well. So one is a yin coil, one's a yang coil. And they have a right and an in and an out, a front and a back. So yin, we put a little red dot on ours. Can you see this? I can't see because I've got the chat box. Wait a minute. I'm going to move it just so I can tell what's going on. Okay, so you got it here. Okay, so here's the yin coil. Here's a yang coil. So yin goes in, yang goes out. Okay, actually, it's left and right too. So left, right. And that way, what's happening in the middle between these two coils is scalar. So these two are frequencies, right? They don't really cancel each other out. They more like transform each other. The two signals transform and become pure potentiality and true healing when you have a scalar field. So let me talk about that for a little bit. So these are two identical electromagnetic waves that are coming out of these coils, but they're out of phase. And when they come together, they create this scalar energy, which increases cellular energy, cellular balance, and enhances healing. And see where it says cancels out harmful EMF effects? Doesn't cancel out the EMF. It cancels out the EMF effects in its range. So you literally, in our house, we have Qi coils going on all the time. We don't have any EMF impacting us in our house. Okay, come on, little slide. Do your thing. I have to go to this monitor. Okay, so scalar waves are also known as Tesla waves. Now, transverse waves, this is so an electromagnetic wave, right? It's hertz. And so they always go in a direction, but Tesla waves vibrate in line with the direction of propagation, which simply means if you look at a water ripple, okay? So this water ripple, notice how it's moving out, but it's also moving up and down. It's kind of like how we saw that thing that goes like this. Okay, that thing, torus. It's kind of like that. So it's not going in a linear way, it's going in a more spherical way. And so it's not electromagnetic energy because that has magnitude and direction. Remember, we talked about voltage and frequency. So scalar's non-electromagnetic. Two electromagnetic devices facing each other create this new waveform that has no frequency. This is spirit. This is Qi. This is the divine. This is in pure potentiality. And it's happening at the same time the frequency stuff is happening. So you're getting both. Okay, so if you want to use Qi coils to create your scalar environment, you need two. And you can do this with front and back. Notice the arrow, that's the back. So this is yin out. This is yin out, yang out. This is yin up, yang down. And this is yang on top, going up, and yin on the bottom, going down. And so you can play with it during your meditation and feel the different feelings and see what happens. If you buy a mini coil, you're only getting yin, and that's great. It's going to give you a lot of benefits. You're just not going to get this scalar environment. Now, earlier I was talking about cellular voltage, so let me go back to that. So healthy cells, 70 to 90 millivolts. Cells don't reproduce. They stop reproducing at 50 millivolts. Chronic conditions are 30 millivolts, and cancer, 15 to 20. So we have to do things to stimulate the voltage in our cells. We can do that with nutrients, oxygen absorption, and PEMF. So we want to continuously use these coils to maintain our health over the long haul. So the Qi coil is a multimodal device. It creates the sacred field of the torus. It has crystals in it, uses sound healing. Think what's happening right now. Sound frequencies are going through an amplifier, going into this coil and coming out of it. So it's actually transmitting the energy of sound healing into a PEMF form that goes into your body and synchronizes with your brain. So very, very powerful. There's really no technology out there like this. I've seen other people like this. I keep telling you about this thing we went to. It was a frequency healing convention where practitioners would go around and they'd see different people's modalities. There's nothing out there like this. So honestly, if you're a practitioner, this is one of the best things you can use in your practice. So this is Mesmer and Quimby evolved. Why? Okay, here's David's book, one of his books, Change Your Frequency, Change Your Destiny. And he says, thought plus frequency is a co-creative healing. So quantum physics has shown us that every frequency with its unique peaks and valleys in waveform can be altered or manipulated. These wave shapes act as encoders and decoders of information and data. Today's cutting-edge science is all about how we can change this information and data, not just through external influences like the coils, but by our own internal will, our choices and intentions. David Wong. So the point of this is using your mind, using your consciousness, doing spiritual practice, things like affirmations, meditation, being with loving people, practicing love, using the Qi coils. It actually amplifies and augments the power of the Qi coils because you're deliberately doing something with your consciousness to impact your health and well-being. And it's really amazing. Here's the physical benefits of the Qi coils, just once again, for information, energy balance, sleep and stress, and the immune system. The psychospiritual benefits are stress, again, enhancing your meditation, improving relationships and attracting abundance, and improving your ability to perceive spiritual energy. Remember, you're an energy field, and you actually can, with practice, develop an awareness and a feeling sense of what's happening in your energy field and not getting blown away by it like so many people have. All right, remember we talked about voltage. So the more power, the greater the benefit. So we start here with the mini coil, and that's great. 2.5 feet in its radius. It's the radius across the circle, the sphere across there, 2.5 feet. So What I did, I bought this first. I would stick it inside my pants, and when I sat down to meditate, right at my, belts area, like where my belly button is, and I would meditate, so it was touching me. And you did it that way for 6 weeks and used regenerate. I'm honestly, what a great frequency in the basic frequencies. And so it was awesome, but we wanted more power, right? Now you can buy two of these. This is two yin coils. It's going to increase the field size of your, it's going to impact your field in a wider sphere. So 5 feet, right? Two makes bigger, but they're both yin, just so you know. Then we have the 3S coils. 3S coils are great. And it comes with the tablet. This also, the two minis come with a tablet. Otherwise, you're using a phone app. And with this one, you're getting all of the Rife frequencies and the basic frequencies to get you started. And then you can purchase frequency packages. Like I said, you can purchase the Schumann. Honestly, please do that. It'll really change your day-to-day experience. Then we have the bigger amplifier, right? That's going to create more power. So, and these are also, whoops, I'm sorry, go back. There we go. These, when I click on it, the slide changes. These are 5 inches wide. So this is a 20 by 20 foot, like 400 square feet, which is really, really great. The Aura coils, 2 by 2, 2 feet by 2 feet. This, you can buy just a single yin coil. It'll impact your entire house. Or 2 to create a scalar environment. 4, create more. 8, create even more. So really, if you haven't bought your coils yet, do so. It's really going to help you. Remember, you are energy, you are thought, you are healing. Use your mind, use your consciousness, and combine the Qi coils so that you can have the greatest impact for your health in your life and the life of your loved ones. And finally, there's my email address. You can email me. I am, as I said, a spiritual coach, and I help people work with their spiritual practices, with meditation, with affirmations, discovering the beliefs that are holding you back so you can shift those beliefs and align yourself with what I call the spiritual truth, and help you if you need help with the frequencies as well. So that's it for me. I really enjoyed talking with you tonight, and I hope that you will get in touch with me. And I'm going to stop my share. Keith Snyder, view, Qi Life, attendees. Okay. Keith, I am clicking on you right now. Are you there? You can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hi there, Keith. Thanks
Hi.
for listening.
It was interesting.
Good. Do you have a question?
No, I've heard about hemp and um the Rife energies, and I do have a coil, and I have an electronic frequency thing for the Schulman
Good.
frequency.
Great. And how's it going?
Good.
How long have you had them?
Um, about 4 or 5 months.
Okay, great. And what are you noticing? What changes have you been noticing in your life?
Sleeping better. That's for one.
Good. Absolutely. That's one of the first things people notice. And the people that buy coils from us, that's one of the things that I've got somebody else up here. One of the things that they notice right away is the the sleeping. My husband, let's see what's going on. I'm not a real multitasker, so I'm looking through all of these comments. And somebody said something about Mary Baker Eddy a while back. Divine visualizations. I used Mary Baker Eddy's healing treatment and it works. I also used F.L. Rawson. I'm not sure what that is. So getting back to you, Keith, keep on going. And we've had the coils since last July. I had dramatic changes, especially in my meditation and my anxiety levels in the beginning. And we have a 40-year-old son that lives with us. And when the coils are on, he's mellow and calm. When the coils are not on, he's irritable and kind of angry and cynical. So for somebody that doesn't even know that the coils are on, we can see that they're affecting him. So that's the other thing that's really cool. Do you have anybody you live with?
Yeah, I have a girlfriend.
Are you sharing those with her?
Yes.
Awesome. Good. Yeah, I'm scrolling through and looking at all the webinar chat. It's always fun. So this is the thing about social media is that your attention has to be in like 4 places at once. Okay, well, thank you, Keith, and I appreciate your willingness to share.
All right, thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Is there anybody else that would like to share something with me? Angela. I think somebody
Angelina.
else is managing this. Hello, Angela.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. I'm just listening to what you're saying about your son. When the Qi Coils are on, he's mellow, and when they're not on, he's irritable.
Yes.
My question is, if you're using the Qi Coils and, as you said, a person is mellow, why does that not continue within the person's system, internal system? If they've been exposed to them, why? Like, I'm not, trying to knock anybody here, but I want to know if and I hate to be a bit pessimistic as well, but if the Qi Coils really do the job the way, I hear and I see and I read and have read, why do they not last when you're not around them? Like that, yeah, that is a question
That's perfect, Angelina. I love that question. So for years, I was in the dietary supplement business. And people would say, well, why do I need to take this supplement? Why do I have to keep taking it? And it's like, well, okay, let's say you don't get any vitamin C. What happens is you get scurvy. So so your body needs certain ingredients nutritionally in order to stay healthy. Well, your consciousness needs certain ingredients to stay healthy as well. And so PEMF or Qi coils, excuse me, work.
Yeah.
And the more you use them, the better the effect. But there's also this intentionality aspect of it where it's not just, have you ever been hypnotized or anything?
Yeah, I'm do hypnotherapy myself.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's another example of hypnotherapy, let's say for cigarette smoking. Well, it used to be really, really popular. So some people would quit smoking using hypnotherapy, and a lot of people wouldn't. They would quit for a while and then they would start again. Why? Because you have to keep using the practice. So this isn't something that permanently, it's not like just use it for a couple weeks and take 2 aspirin and see me in the morning or whatever. None of these modalities, no healing modality, chiropractic. They don't say, okay, get an adjustment and never come back again. All of this stuff requires continuous use in order to work. That's just the flat
Right.
out truth of it.
Yeah, I get the maintenance side of it. I understand the maintenance, like, yeah, nothing's gonna sort of, you got to keep using it. But I guess my question is more so like, if you're exposed to them for an hour or a whole night, say for example, I got a daughter who suffers with anxiety, depression. Yeah, there's no clear diagnosis. If I was to buy the coils and put one on the edge of her bed and the other one at the bottom of her bed and let her sleep with them on with the music, right? How long does she end up staying calm, or like it sounds to me like it's a process, like you've got to go through this process and all these different steps to get to where you want to get, which I guess at the end of it is freedom of illness and or your illnesses and freedom of mental health issues. Am I
Okay,
making any sense at all?
yes, absolutely. First of all, let me clarify how you would use it for sleep. First of all, no music. Remember, Qi coils don't need music. Music is great to guide you when you're doing meditation, for example. The frequencies happen whether you're listening to them or not.
Right,
When you're and so what you want to do is only use a yin coil when you're sleeping.
right,
So not both coils, just one, and then turn on a sleep frequency or Schumann, and there's a sleep frequency that comes with the basic, and there's more advanced. Sleep is one of the fastest to respond. So we see people, lots of people who buy the coils, they do it for that reason. My husband's a really great example, had a lot of trouble sleeping, and it took, I don't know, a couple weeks maybe. I have another friend, took him like 5 days, all of a sudden sleeping through the night. And a lot of older men really have issues with nighttime stuff and sleeping. So this is, first of all, one of the most important things to do when you buy your Qi coils is educate yourself so you know exactly what you're doing and how to do it. And that way you're going to get the right benefit. And then again, if you stop using the coils, you're probably going to have trouble sleeping again. It's just how it works. That's why you buy them. Like we rent them to people for 2 weeks, or we have people come over and have a session. But it's, um, yeah, you can do it like twice a week, but they have to keep coming. And they have to do, oh, duration. I forgot to tell you about duration. When you
yeah,
start with the Qi coils, you start with 1 hour, 3 times a day. And you can start sleeping all night through with just the yin coil and the sleep frequency without worrying about it. But we recommend that people with the other ones start small, continue to hydrate yourself, notice how you're feeling. And if you start to feel a little overwhelmed or whatever, just don't do it for a day and start again. For some people, this is powerful. And for other people, they can't feel it. That has to do with their level of sensitivity. But I would definitely recommend that for your daughter.
right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sweetie. I'm reading through these webinar chats. It's so interesting. So, are there any other questions that people have right now? There's so much information on the website, and you can always email me if you want, and I can answer questions for you. And other than that, I think we're good. Any last minute? Love you, people. Heather Pham. Hi, Heather. Glad you're on the call.
Hello.
Hi. How's it
I'm doing
going?
I'm good. Thank you very much for all the information. You've been very helpful.
Good. Yeah, thank you for sharing the Qi coils with people.
Yes, I'm loving it. People
Good.
get your Qi coil. I'm loving mine.
Absolutely. And just like, so Heather, I'm going to use you as an example for these other people. So in the beginning, you had a
Sure.
lot of questions and
Mhm.
I answered them for you, and then you'd have more questions, and that helped you share it with other people. And that was really, really powerful.
Yes.
So thank you for doing that. It's the ability and willingness to ask questions that really gives you the skill and the knowledge and the confidence in how to use this. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and to share it with other people, you have to know you have to know the information to be able to share it with other people. So yes, I'm keeping I'm always learning. We're all always learning all of the time. So I'm excited about my Qi coil. I love it, and so far I'm sharing it with everybody that I know so far, and they're all loving it too.
Good. All right, great. Thank you so much. And I think we are done. I just got a message from the Chi Life people. Thank you for watching. So that will be the end of our webinar for tonight. Come back next Thursday because we're going to continue this hidden secrets theme, and you'll learn more from everybody. Thank you so much for watching.